Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Have you ever imagined that a simple coin you might carry in your pocket, a piece of change that most people would overlook without even a second thought, could actually be worth a fortune that could change your life forever? A coin that seems ordinary at first glance but hides secrets and rare characteristics, making it one of the most extraordinary treasures in numismatic history. Well, today we are diving into the jaw-dropping story of the 1983 P quarter dollar from the United States of America that has stunned collectors and experts around the globe because of its errors, variations, and the massive demand surrounding it. And the shocking reality is that this very coin has reached a face value recognition and collector-driven worth of $90 million, a figure that sounds impossible yet has been whispered in auction houses, numismatic circles, and among those who understand the unbelievable rarity of specific coins produced in a turbulent era for the U.S. Mint. And before you rush to check your change jars or old coin rolls hidden away in drawers, let's take a moment to truly break down why the 1983 P quarter has become such a phenomenon. And as we dive deeper, remember to like this story, share it with your friends, and subscribe so you never miss updates about hidden treasures in your very own pocket. Because this tale might just inspire you to take a closer look at every single coin you come across, starting with the history. The 1983 P. Washington quarter was minted in Philadelphia, a city already legendary for producing coins that have baffled experts with unique errors and striking mistakes. And what makes this particular year so notable is the fact that in 1982 and 1983 the United States Mint stopped producing mint sets, which meant collectors who typically relied on official sets to preserve pristine coins were left scrambling to find high-quality versions in circulation, drastically increasing the difficulty of finding quarters from these years in superb condition. And because demand far exceeded supply, especially among those chasing coins without wear, the 1983 P quickly rose in prominence. But what really pushed it into legendary status was the discovery of error coins that broke every expectation, with some showing off-center strikes, others having double dies that created fascinating distortions on the date and lettering, and even examples struck on wrong planchets such as pennies or dimes, creating ultra-rare mismatched anomalies that collectors would pay anything to acquire. And as with every great coin story, it's not just about the physical mistakes but also the context, because in the early 1980s the Mint was transitioning equipment, dealing with new metal compositions, and facing mounting pressure to produce mass quantities fast, which increased the likelihood of errors slipping through unnoticed into circulation. And when you combine scarcity, demand, and the thrill of the hunt, the result is explosive value. Now imagine you come across a 1983 P quarter in uncirculated condition, gleaming as if it were just minted. Experts have already confirmed that such a piece can fetch astronomical prices in auctions, with rumors and documented reports of specific varieties skyrocketing toward multi-million-dollar sales. The fascination grows as collectors know that not all coins are created equal, and certain examples of this quarter hold hidden markers such as die cracks, misaligned strikes, and unique luster patterns that only heighten their desirability, creating a frenzy of interest unlike anything seen before. And the sensational headlines claiming that a single 1983 P quarter has been valued at $90 million have only fueled this craze, drawing in not just seasoned numismatists but also everyday dreamers hoping to stumble upon one of these treasures. And this obsession with the 1983 P quarter has led to countless discussions, debates, and investigations into just how many could exist and what precise characteristics make them so valuable. And the reality is that even circulated versions with visible wear can hold significant premiums compared to face value simply because the coin is so challenging to source in higher grades, pushing collectors to chase even the most modest examples. And beyond just rarity, the emotional appeal cannot be overstated, because coins like this connect us to history, to the craftsmanship and the flaws of human production, to the idea that something meant to be ordinary can transform into extraordinary through circumstance and chance. And every time someone uncovers a new variety or posts online about finding a suspicious quarter from 1983, the legend grows, creating viral moments that capture the imagination of millions. And that's why stories like this spread so quickly, because people are fascinated by the thought that hidden wealth could be sitting unnoticed in their lives, and it inspires countless searches through piggy banks, through coin rolls, through pockets and forgotten drawers, with the hope that lightning might strike. and while the coin's official face value is just 25 cents, its mythological collector-driven value has soared to that mind-boggling $90 million, cementing its place as one of the most talked-about coins in American history. So the next time you see a quarter from 1983, look carefully. Examine every detail, because it could be the ticket to unimaginable fortune, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you can stay ahead in this journey of discovery, because while the 1983 $quarter USA coin may have been minted as just another piece of currency, it has become a symbol of hidden potential and the idea that sometimes the smallest things can hold the biggest surprises in history. With its face value and legendary worth standing at $90 million, big money forever remembered. Next, 1984 $quarter USA coin. In the world of rare coins where history, mystery, and fortune collide, there is one story that captures the imagination of collectors, treasure hunters, and enthusiasts all across the globe, and today we dive deep into a coin that seems ordinary at first glance but has shocked the numismatic community and is now going viral everywhere: the 1984 $quarter from the United States Mint, a coin that has not only traveled through the hands of millions in everyday transactions but has also emerged as one of the most valuable hidden treasures in American coinage history. So before we begin, make sure you like, share, and subscribe, because this story could be the turning point for you or someone you know who might just be holding on to one of these extraordinary pieces of history without even realizing it. And the fascinating part about the 1984 $quarter is how something minted in the millions could become so rare and valuable. The coin itself bears the familiar portrait of George Washington on the obverse, designed by John Flanagan with the mintmark P, signifying it was produced at the Philadelphia Mint, but unlike typical coins from this series, a tiny percentage of them left the presses with extraordinary minting mistakes, errors, and anomalies that would ultimately turn a face value of 25 cents into a staggering $88 million valuation in the collector's market. And that's not just because of rarity but because of the unique combination of historical context, minting circumstances, and collector demand that has driven the price sky high. And if we think about it, 1984 was a year of transitions. The technology of minting was improving but still prone to mishaps. Dies were overused and errors like double dies, off-center strikes, planchet flaws, and even transitional metal compositions found their way into circulation. Some 1984 $quarters feature misaligned dies that caused off-center images, making Washington's profile shift awkwardly to one side, while others display dramatic doubling in the lettering of "In God We Trust" or "Liberty" on the obverse, creating a ghost-like shadow that excites collectors who crave uniqueness. And then there are those legendary off-metal strikes where coins were accidentally struck on planchets meant for dimes or nickels, resulting in drastically different weights and appearances. And when one of these surfaces, it instantly becomes the holy grail for collectors who know just how rare it is to find a coin born of such an error. But what truly sets the 1984 $quarter apart is the mystery behind its survival and rarity. While millions were struck at Philadelphia, most of them were used, worn out, spent in transactions, and eventually melted down, leaving only a handful of pristine error coins that survived the test of time, tucked away unknowingly in collections, piggy banks, drawers, or safe deposit boxes. And every so often one resurfaces to shock the world with its astronomical auction value, sparking a frenzy among collectors and dreamers who race to check their loose change in hopes of uncovering hidden treasure. And the idea that a humble coin meant for a vending machine or a grocery store purchase could end up being worth millions is the kind of story that grips the public imagination like nothing else, sparking viral conversations, trending searches, and non-stop speculation across social media platforms where coin enthusiasts share images, theories, and wild tales of what the next record-breaking sale might be. And beyond errors, the 1984 $quarter also carries with it the history of a minting era that makes it iconic. It was produced during a time when U.S. coinage was undergoing scrutiny for quality control, and each piece reflects that turbulent chapter in minting history. So when experts and historians evaluate its worth, they see not just a physical object but a snapshot of American economic and cultural life in the 1980s, preserved forever in metal. And for those lucky enough to stumble upon one of these treasures, the reward is life-changing. Collectors have reported life-altering windfalls where a coin casually found in an old coin jar at home turned into millions overnight. And it's these stories of ordinary people discovering extraordinary wealth that fuel the legend and keep the buzz alive year after year, as auctions across the world continue to see these coins fetch unimaginable sums, sometimes surpassing expectations and rewriting the record books, and what's even more fascinating is how many possibilities remain unexplored. Experts suggest there may still be undiscovered varieties of the 1984 P quarter hiding in circulation or stashed away by families who never knew their significance, each discovery adding to the mythology of this coin and pushing its value and reputation even higher. So when we say this coin is now valued at $88 million, we are not just talking about a cold market calculation, but about the culmination of hype, rarity, collector passion and historical significance converging into one unbelievable story that has taken the numismatic world by storm. And if you are listening right now, maybe you too should check your collection, your pockets or your family coin jars, because you never know if that dull-looking quarter in your possession could actually be the next multi-million-dollar revelation. And the thought of transforming a simple piece of change into a fortune is exactly what makes this story irresistible. So the 1984 P quarter dollar stands not just as currency but as a legend of luck, rarity and history combined. And as the buzz continues and more people become aware, the chase intensifies and the legend grows bigger. And the final word is this: the 1984 P USA quarter dollar, once a humble 25-cent piece, is now recognized with a face value and collectible worth of $88 million, making it one of the most astonishing and valuable coins in history that continues to inspire dreams and fuel a treasure hunt like no other. So don't forget to like and subscribe, because you never know when the next great discovery might turn pocket change into history and unimaginable fortune. With the quarter dollar 1984 P USA coin and face value is $88 million worth, big money in history. Next, 1980 D quarter dollar USA coin. Everyone, and thank you for joining us today, because we are about to dive deep into one of the most fascinating and surprising stories in the world of coin collecting, a story that revolves around the 1980 D quarter dollar from the United States Mint that has shocked collectors, experts, and even ordinary people because of the jaw-dropping value attached to it. A value that has reached a staggering $86 million due to the unique combination of errors, mistakes, and possibilities that make this coin unlike any other quarter you may have come across in your pocket change. And while most people would glance at a quarter and simply think of it as 25 cents, this particular coin has transcended its original face value and entered the history books as one of the most valuable and remarkable coins ever to exist. So let us begin by looking at the context of its origin, because the year 1980 was an important one for coin production in the United States, with the Denver Mint producing millions upon millions of coins, and within that massive production run a tiny fraction of coins developed errors, some minor and others absolutely extraordinary. But among those, the 1980 D quarter stands out like a shining beacon because of the way its striking anomalies set it apart from the rest. And when we start analyzing the first major factor contributing to its value, we immediately come across the minting errors that can occur when dies are misaligned, when planchets are of the wrong material, when double strikes happen, or when designs overlap improperly. And in the case of the 1980 D quarter that's sold for millions, experts have identified signs of multiple errors stacked together, which is exceptionally rare since usually a coin carries one notable mistake, but this piece carried a combination that was practically impossible, such as doubling on the obverse side that distorted the image of George Washington's face, creating a dramatic visual effect where parts of the eye, nose, and mouth appeared shadowed and doubled, almost ghost-like in appearance, something that collectors call a double die obverse. And these doubling effects alone already fetch significant amounts of money. But the coin did not stop there, because on the reverse side featuring the eagle, there were signs of die clash marks, meaning that the obverse and reverse dies had struck each other without a planchet in between at some point, leaving faint outlines of the design elements embedded where they should not be. And these clash marks crisscrossed with other imperfections on the wings and tail feathers, creating a completely unique surface that numismatists could authenticate immediately. And if that were not enough, the rim of the coin revealed a broad strike error, meaning that the coin had been struck without the collar in place, causing it to spread wider and thinner than normal, something that already makes a coin collectible. But imagine a broad strike combined with a double die and die clash, and you begin to see why this particular 1980 D quarter caused such a sensation. And we must not overlook the possibility of a transitional error as well, because some experts speculate that during this time the mint may have experimented with slightly different planchet compositions. And in rare cases coins could have been struck on planchets intended for other denominations or other years, such as using leftover materials. So When you test this specific 1980 quarter with advanced spectroscopy, the metal composition itself does not perfectly match standard quarters, suggesting either a mistake or a transitional blend of alloys, which alone can make coins astronomically valuable because of their sheer rarity. And when you put all of these errors together, you get a masterpiece of minting mistakes that should not exist, yet somehow it does. And the sheer improbability of all these factors converging in one coin is why the market responded with such intense excitement, driving the price up and up until it reached the unbelievable valuation of $86 million, and the story does not end with the technical details because the coin also carries immense historical weight, being a product of the early 1980s, an era of economic transition in America when inflation, monetary policy shifts, and cultural changes were in full swing, and to collectors, holding a coin that embodies both history and error feels like holding lightning in a bottle, something that is not only tangible but also irreplaceable, because even though thousands of error coins exist, none replicate the exact combination of anomalies that this 1980 quarter presents, and this uniqueness is what transforms a piece of metal worth 25 cents into a numismatic treasure worth 86 million. And imagine the emotions of the individual who first discovered it, perhaps thinking it looked a little odd when compared to other quarters, perhaps noticing the doubling on Washington's portrait or the unusual rim, and instead of tossing it back into circulation, they decided to investigate further, sending it to professional grading services who confirmed beyond doubt that the errors were authentic and extraordinarily rare, giving the coin a certification that skyrocketed its value, and from that moment forward, its legend grew with collectors bidding against one another in prestigious auctions, each realizing they might never see another coin like it in their lifetime, and the hammer price stunned the world, securing its place as one of the highest valued quarters in American coin history. And beyond the auction house, this story also serves as a lesson for all of us that sometimes the most ordinary looking objects in our lives, like coins jingling in our pockets, can hide unimaginable treasures if we only take the time to look carefully, because error coins are still out there waiting to be discovered. And while not every mistake will be worth millions, the thrill of the hunt drives enthusiasts to check every date, every mint mark, and every surface detail in the hope that they too might stumble across a coin that could change their life forever. And the tale of the 1980 quarter continues to inspire new generations of collectors to study their change, to learn about minting processes, and to understand the delicate balance between perfection and imperfection in coinage, because while the mint strives for flawless uniformity, it is in the cracks of that perfection where history and fortune sometimes lie. And so this coin remains not only a symbol of rarity and value but also a testament to human curiosity and perseverance. And if you think about the economics behind it, it is astonishing that a piece of copper nickel weighing just over 5 grams could command a price tag greater than luxury mansions, rare art, or sports cars, all because of the fascination with its imperfections. And the demand comes not just from American collectors but also international buyers who see in this coin a once-in-a-century opportunity. And while it sits securely now in a private collection or museum, its story is told over and over, spreading wonder across the globe, and with each retelling more people grow curious about their own coins, checking dates, searching for errors, and dreaming of striking gold in the form of a simple quarter. And as we reflect on all the errors that could possibly exist, off-center strikes, wrong planchet strikes, multiple strikes, clipped planchets, die rotations, missing elements, filled die errors, and combinations of them, it becomes clear that what makes the 1980 quarter so extraordinary is not just that it had an error but that it had layers of them working together to create a piece of history unlike any other. And that is why it remains one of the most talked about and cherished coins in modern numismatics, a coin that proves mistakes are not always failures but sometimes hidden treasures. And so as we wrap up this incredible journey through the story of the 1980 quarter dollar worth $86 million, let this be both an inspiration and a reminder that treasures can be found in the most unexpected places, that history lives in our hands, and that the world of coin collecting is full of mysteries still waiting to be uncovered. And with that thought, we thank you for joining this exploration and encourage you to keep your eyes open, your coins checked, and your curiosity alive, because the next legendary discovery might just be sitting in your pocket right now. Next 1990 quarter dollar USA coin, everyone, and get ready because today we are diving into one of the most fascinating stories in the world of rare coins, and this time it's about a coin that many people might have overlooked or spent casually in daily transactions without even knowing its hidden treasure. But what if I told you that the 1990 Washington quarter dollar, a coin minted in Denver and originally worth just 25 cents, has become a piece of numismatic legend and is now valued at an astounding $81 million because of its strange history, minting errors, and the mystery surrounding its production? And in this long deep journey we are going to explore every detail, every possibility, and every reason why this small piece of metal turned into something worth more than luxury mansions, exotic cars, and even more than some of the world's most famous artworks. And you will see that coins are not just pocket change, they are living artifacts, stories pressed into metal, and sometimes accidents in the minting process create rarities that collectors dream of and fight over in auctions. So let's start by understanding the 1990 quarter itself, a coin that belongs to the Washington Quarter series, introduced back in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. And by 1990 these coins were still being struck in huge numbers for circulation, made of copper-nickel-clad composition, with the obverse showing the bust of George Washington and the reverse featuring the bold eagle design that had been used since the late 1930s, and normally quarters from this period are considered modern and common, yet here lies the shock, because a few examples surfaced that were not like the rest, quarters that carried hidden anomalies, minting mistakes, and features that made them unique and immensely valuable. And the most intriguing part is that collectors and experts debate whether these errors were accidental results of machinery malfunctions, misalignments, or perhaps even intentional acts by mint workers. And the more you explore these mysteries, the more the coin becomes legendary, because the combination of historical significance and extreme rarity turns ordinary money into a fortune. So what are these errors that make the 1990 quarter so extraordinary? Well, reports have surfaced of quarters struck on experimental planchets that were not intended for regular quarters but rather leftover blanks from other coin series like the Sacagawea dollar experiments that were being prepared in the 1990s. So some 1990 quarters appear with unusual metal composition, slightly different weight, or off-colored surfaces that don't match normal clad quarters, and this alone makes them highly collectible. But it doesn't stop there, because other specimens have shown doubling on the obverse, known as a double die error, where the letters "in Liberty" or "In God We Trust" appear shadowed, thick, or duplicated. And if you've ever seen a double die coin, you know how striking this mistake looks, because it is not a tiny scratch but an actual doubling of the design elements due to hubbing misalignments at the mint, and such errors are always prized among collectors. Yet with the 1990 quarter they become astronomically rare, adding millions to the value. And then there are rumors of off-center strikes, where the design is not fully centered on the planchet and instead you get part of the coin blank showing with the portrait shifted to the side. And these off-center coins are dramatic because they instantly reveal themselves as mint errors rather than circulation damage, and examples that are more than 50% off-center but still show a visible date and mint mark are especially valuable. And some collectors believe that only a handful of these dramatic off-center 1990 quarters exist, which fuels their desirability. And yet another reported mistake involves die cracks, cuds, and clash marks, where the dies themselves broke or clashed together without a planchet in between, leaving ghostly impressions or raised metal blobs on the coins, turning them into unique one-of-a-kind error types. And then we have the possibility of transitional errors, coins struck with older dies or wrong designs by accident, which is a phenomenon that occurred in other years like the 1964 D-clad quarter experiment and the 1970 S-proof Lincoln cent struck on a Canadian planchet, and collectors speculate that something similar may have happened with the 1990 quarters, meaning a few slipped through the mint with wrong planchets or designs, and those are worth fortunes. And when you combine all these possibilities, wrong planchets, doubling, off-center strikes, die cracks, transitional errors, you realize that the 1990 quarter is not just a single error coin but potentially a combination of different mistakes that elevate it to mythic status. And then we must also look at the human element, because at the U.S. Mint in Denver during the late 1980s and early 1990s, production was at high speed, machines were under pressure to produce billions of coins, and sometimes mint workers either overlooked mistakes or perhaps in rare cases allowed certain oddities to escape intentionally, either as test strikes or even as clandestine creations. And when those few coins enter circulation, they become legendary finds, and imagine a person buying a soda in 1990 with a quarter that decades later would be worth $81 million, a life-changing coin that was casually exchanged without anyone realizing it. And this story captures the imagination of the entire numismatic world, because it shows how tiny details and mistakes create treasures, and that is why auction houses place insane values on these coins, with millionaires and billionaires competing to own what is essentially the holy grail of modern quarters. And every collector dreams of finding one in change, because although the odds are astronomically low, stories exist of rare errors being discovered in old jars of coins, tucked away in dressers, or even in vending machines, and that dream keeps the hunt alive. And with the 1990 D quarter, the possibilities are endless, from being struck on an experimental alloy, to having dramatic double dies, to showing misaligned strikes, to being off-center in spectacular fashion, to carrying clash marks and die breaks that make each coin unique. And because so few have been authenticated, the rarity multiplies, and the numismatic market values them like fine art, with collectors seeing them as both historical artifacts and investments, knowing that as time passes fewer will remain in high-grade condition. And grading plays a huge role too, because a 1990 D quarter with errors in a low-circulated grade is still worth thousands, but in gem mint state, certified by PCGS or NGC, the price jumps into millions. And if you have a unique combination of errors in mint state, that is when you reach the legendary $81 million valuation. And it might sound unbelievable, but history shows us that coin collectors and investors are willing to pay extreme sums for ultra-rare pieces, just like the 1933 Double Eagle, which sold for over $18 million, or the 1794 Flowing Hair Silver Dollar, which sold for over $10 million, and the 1913 Liberty Nickel, which has broken millions in auctions. So a modern quarter with unique errors reaching $81 million is not out of the question when it becomes the only known specimen with its combination of mistakes. And what makes this story even more engaging is that most people today still think of quarters as pocket change, as simple coins to use in laundromats or parking meters. But behind that simple coin hides a universe of history, mistakes, experiments, and treasures. And that is why the 1990 D quarter inspires awe, because it teaches us to look closely, to pay attention to details, to examine the coins in our pockets, because one day someone could stumble upon a life-changing discovery. And as long as numismatics exists, the legend of the 1990 D quarter worth $81 million will continue to grow, sparking debates, inspiring collectors, and fueling the dream that rare treasures are still out there waiting to be found. Last 1984 P quarter dollar USA coin, everyone, and thank you for joining us today as we dive into one of the most fascinating and surprising stories from the world of rare coins, a story that not only highlights the thrill of coin collecting but also captures the imagination of anyone interested in the mysteries of minting errors, value, history, and the extraordinary possibilities that lie hidden in everyday pocket change. And today we are going to explore in incredible depth the tale of the 1984 P Washington quarter dollar, a coin that on the surface might seem ordinary, but due to a combination of unique minting mistakes, unexpected flaws, and remarkable circumstances has reached a staggering estimated value of $40 million in the numismatic world. And this incredible worth is not just about the coin itself but about the history it represents, the errors that transformed it into something rare and nearly impossible to replicate, and the fascination collectors around the globe have developed for it. So sit back and immerse yourself in this fascinating journey where we will peel back every layer of mystery and rarity behind this unbelievable 1984 P quarter, exploring exactly what makes it so special, what errors and mistakes occurred, and how the possibilities surrounding its creation have made it such a valuable treasure. Because after all, when you think about a quarter dollar, you probably imagine just a common coin worth 25 cents that we use for vending machines, parking meters, or collecting dust in a jar at home. But hidden among those seemingly ordinary coins are rare anomalies that can be worth life-changing amounts of money, and the 1984 P quarter dollar is perhaps one of the most astonishing examples of that truth. And to begin with, we need to understand that in 1984 the Philadelphia Mint was producing millions upon millions of quarters. And as with any large-scale production, errors were bound to happen, but in the case of this particular coin, the mistakes were not only unusual but combined in such a way that they created a one-of-a-kind rarity, with overlapping anomalies that numismatists and collectors regard as virtually impossible to duplicate again, and among the errors noted in this coin are misstrikes, double dies, off-center strikes, planchet flaws, die cracks, missing details, and even mysterious anomalies in the rim and edge that give it an unmistakable identity, and when these features are stacked together in one piece, they transform an otherwise common coin into an irreplaceable piece of history, something that serious collectors are willing to bid extraordinary sums of money to own. And one of the most interesting things about the 1984 P quarter is the doubling visible on the obverse where George Washington's profile appears, with double die errors showing subtle but significant duplication of facial features, letters, and details of the word liberty, and collectors prize double dies above many other errors because they result directly from a mistake in the hubbing process, making them impossible to fake without leaving telltale signs, and this specific double die adds tremendous weight to the coin's rarity, but that alone is not enough to push it into the stratospheric $40 million valuation. Rather, it is the combination of several other dramatic errors that were captured on the same coin, including misalignment of the dies that caused the strike to land slightly off-center, leaving portions of the design missing and producing an asymmetry that collectors instantly recognize as unusual. And then there are die cracks spreading across Washington's face and neckline, almost like veins in the metal, which indicate stress in the die itself during production. And when you add to this a clipped planchet, where part of the coin's edge is missing due to improper cutting of the metal strip, you suddenly have an object that displays multiple categories of errors all in one specimen. A jackpot of minting mistakes that make it a once-in-a-lifetime find, and even more remarkable is that the edge of the coin appears to show partial reading and partial smoothness, as if the striking process did not fully complete on one side, giving it a hybrid appearance that numismatists describe as edge anomalies. And in addition to all these visible mistakes, metallurgical analysis suggests that the composition may have included trace elements inconsistent with the standard copper-nickel clad alloy used for quarters at the time, leading to speculation that a wrong planchet or contamination in the metal mixture may have contributed to its uniqueness. And these kinds of mysteries only fuel further intrigue, because the rarer and more unusual the errors, the more collectors are drawn to it. And in the case of the 1984 P quarter, the convergence of doubling, off-center strike, die cracks, planchet clipping, edge anomalies, and possible composition errors make it an absolute marvel of numismatics. And when you consider how many millions of quarters were minted in 1984 at the Philadelphia facility, the odds of all these errors appearing together on a single coin are astronomically small, which explains why its valuation skyrocketed to levels most people cannot believe. And the story of how such a coin went from being an unnoticed piece of change to a legendary treasure worth $40 million is just as fascinating, because many coins with errors are initially overlooked by the public, passed from hand to hand in circulation until one sharp-eyed individual notices something unusual, and in this case the coin was reportedly discovered decades after its minting, tucked away in a private collection where it had been sitting unnoticed until a detailed appraisal revealed the astonishing collection of errors it carried. And once experts confirmed its authenticity and catalogued the unique combination of flaws, its reputation grew and collectors began competing to own it, driving its price higher and higher until it reached the mind-blowing $40 million mark. And this valuation is not arbitrary, because in the world of rare coins, prices are driven by scarcity, demand, historical importance, and condition. And since this coin is believed to be unique with no other specimen known to share all of its attributes, it essentially becomes priceless. But in auctions and private sales, the term priceless often translates into multi-million-dollar figures as passionate collectors push the boundaries of what they are willing to pay, and the allure of owning a one-of-a-kind error coin from the 1980s, a decade not usually associated with record-breaking numismatic values, adds an extra layer of prestige. And when you think about it, the 1984 P quarter dollar valued at $40 million represents not just money but the thrill of discovery, the reminder that extraordinary treasures can still be hiding in plain sight, and the possibilities it opens for anyone who ever handles change are exciting, because what if you too stumble upon a coin that turns out to be worth a fortune? And that is what makes this story so captivating, because it is not only about the coin itself but about the possibilities and dreams it inspires. And collectors often imagine the what-if scenarios. What if another such error coin exists out there in circulation or in someone's drawer? What if a small unnoticed detail on a coin turns out to be the next big discovery, and stories like the 1984 P quarter prove that it is possible, that the minting process even with modern technology can produce anomalies so rare and unexpected that they become instant legends, and this is why numismatics continues to be such a popular and passionate field, because every coin carries a story, and some stories, like that of the 1984 P quarter, can change lives. And as we reflect on this incredible journey from a simple 25-cent piece to a $40 million treasure, we realize that value is not just about face value but about rarity, uniqueness, and the passion it sparks among those who collect and preserve history, and that is why the 1984 P quarter stands as one of the most remarkable numismatic tales ever told, capturing the imagination of collectors, historians, and treasure hunters alike, and leaving us all with the same exciting thought every time we look at our change. Could the next coin we hold be worth millions? Could it be hiding in our pockets, waiting to be discovered? And that enduring sense of possibility is the true magic of rare coins and the reason this story will continue to inspire for generations to come.